What's up, guys? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. It has been too long since we've done a Retro Flashback, I know, and it's also been a little while since I've done a video on one of these retro collections. I have no idea why these things are always so incredibly popular on my channel, but hey, never let it be said that I'm not willing to give folks what they want. So yeah, this is SEGA, Mega Drive, and Genesis collection on the PC. This is an interesting one. This collection has been out in some forms for a while, but it recently kind of got almost a relaunch. This company called D3T developed this really cool little front-end menu thing, which is actually based in the Unity engine, and, well, it gives you sort of a period setting, if you will, a kid's bedroom, a kid who I might say is pretty decked out, and gives you sort of a setting to play the Genesis games that are available in this collection. I like it. I think it's a nice little front end. You know, it sort of gives you've got all the different things you can tap on here, which are all contextually relevant in terms of where they're placed and where things can get to. You also get this nice little sort of shelf view where the collection that you have of all your different games that you've bought lives, and you can sort of go through them all and sort of take a look at their box art and things like that. Whoops, actually didn't mean to do that just yet. So, yeah, as usual, I'm not going to do commentary on any of the specific games in the collection. This is going to be more talking about the collection itself. This collection is really cool and also a little weird for a couple of reasons, which we'll get to. So as I said, this front-end menu is pretty neat here. One of the things I really like is it actually has a time of day function. So I'm recording this in the evening. It's about, it's 7:30 right now where I am. So you see things look kind of dark, right? And this thing will automatically sync the sort of lighting of the room up to your system clock. So it will make it like your time of day. But of course, you can adjust it if you want. And this is just neat. So you can just pick a time of day if you like. Hey, you want to be playing games in the middle of the night? Sure, why not? We did plenty of that when we were kids. You want to do it early in the morning, maybe while you're watching your Saturday morning cartoons, you can. And if you want to sync it back to your system clock, just hit the button and bing. Pretty neat. I like that. It's a nice little touch. Completely unnecessary, but it adds that sort of sense of retro flavor and immersion to things, which I do enjoy. The room settings is where you set your sort of front-end settings here. So you can pick your resolution, your quality. This is Unity, so it has all the weirdly named presets. Vertical sync if you need it, windowed mode if you need it, and you can hide the labels on the room items if you would like those things taken out and get a little bit more immersion out of it. So, these little things here, these little text labels, you can take those out, which is kind of neat. As I said, all of your games show up there. In terms of the console settings, so we tend to talk about the various different options that these collections give you in terms of how you can customize your game experience. This one's a little thin, I'm going to admit that, but it gives you the ones that your average mainstream consumer is going to care about. Those crazy things like Capcom Arcade Cabinet that allowed you to do all sorts of crazy things with the screen and, really stretch it out crazy huge or squish it or flip it upside down or all that stuff. None of that's here, but who the hell cares about that stuff, really? I mean, that was neat that they put the work in, but I mean, come on. So, yeah, you can have the emulator pause when you back out of it. You can start it in full screen, which has borders on it because, of course, this is the Genesis/Mega Drive, so everything is in 4:3. Or you can have it stretch it out if you would rather have a bit of a stretched-looking game but no borders. So you get choices. That's nice, right? You also have two different filters, so you can artificially put scan lines in. I'll show you what these look like. I don't like either of these. I think most artificial scan line filters look like crap. This puts like an anti-aliasing around everything, which makes it look all rounded and almost plasticky. I don't really like it. And what you can also do is adjust the TV projection. So let's just quickly show you what this looks like here. So the TV projection, so if you don't run in full screen, you can start and play the game like this. If you want to go in full screen, you just hit the button, and you just hold the back button to back out. Now, I am playing this with a 360 controller, which we'll talk about shortly, but you can play this with a keyboard just fine, which is very nice. Yeah, let's set the options here. So if you put on the HQ2X filter, which I believe is actually a filter in the emulator. So you see here how everything has that extra sort of rounded, almost plasticky quality to it. So you take a look at the screen now. And now we're going to back out and I will turn that off. See what I mean? This is the normal way it looks, but everything, when you turn on HQ2X, like I said, it just kind of looks like a plastic miniature. Some people might like that. I don't at all. I think it looks fugly. So, and then we'll put scan lines on so you can quickly see what that looks like. Yeah, the scan lines look pretty terrible. If you had a TV that had scan lines like this back in the day, you either had a crap TV or you were sitting way too close to it. That's all I got to say about that. So yeah, I turn those off. You can also adjust the TV projection. So basically when you have, when you're looking at the TV like this, see how now it's got that kind of beveled, rounded screen look? Looks more like on an authentic old school tube television. It's a neat effect. You know, I think most people are probably going to be like, nah, it's not really my thing. But again, if you really want a sort of immersion factor to it, it's there for you. And I'm always there. I'm always more for choice. I probably wouldn't use a lot of this, but hey, it's there. So it's basic, definitely basic, but it does the job. The emulation quality, I think, is actually quite good. I think they're using an open source emulator under the hood here, though don't quote me on that. It works fine. All the games that I recognize from back in the day all play fine to me, but I'll give you some examples of that. Here's where you can do your input options. As I said, everything is fully rebindable, which I very much approve of. This game, because it uses the Unity engine, initially did not properly support Xbox One controllers. It had the Xbox One drift problem, which is a core issue with Unity that at an engine level has still largely not been fixed. The developers actually wrote a custom input wrapper that took a little bit of time, but it now works tickety-boo with Xbox One controllers. Very nice to see. So yeah, you can go through and rebind everything here. I'm playing this stuff with the default layout, but the default layout is a little weird. So the problem that you have, right, is that the Genesis, at least the later controllers on the Genesis, were 6 buttons. And they were all face buttons. On a modern controller, you have 4 face buttons and triggers. So if you want to get all 6 buttons, 2 of those buttons have to be on triggers. That's fine, no problem with that. But for whatever reason, the C button was put on the right shoulder button. The C button is how you jump in almost every single game. I find it a little awkward to be playing holding my thumb over the face buttons and then holding basically my right index finger over the right shoulder to jump. I find that a little weird and it kind of cramps my hand after a while. But hey, you want to change it? You absolutely can. So, you want to replace it. Let's just do it like that for whatever reason. There we go. And it actually said, hey, there's a conflict here with that, so it gives you the abilities to change that. If you have multiple controllers, you can also assign a different one to it if you want to, and you can set different bindings for 2 players, so you can have one person on a controller, one person on a keyboard if you like. A1, like that, very nicely done. That's pretty much the best you could ask for in a scenario like that. You have basic audio settings. It's literally just, you can adjust the volume of the game, the UI, and the ambient volume, which in this case is crickets. Basic, does the job, that's pretty much all there is to it there. And of course you have all your different Genesis games here. So, how's the selection in this? Well, let's pause for a moment and talk about the business model. So while I do that, I'm going to run a little text scroll here that has all the different games in this collection because it would take me way too long to read them all out to you. I have the majority of them, but not all of them, and I will tell you why. So everything in this collection you can buy piecemeal for $5 a pop when they're not on sale. There are also 4 different packs that you can buy. Oddly enough, it's 5 packs you can buy, not 4 packs. Oddly enough, the packs don't all share the same name. 3 of them are packs 1, 2, 3, and 5 are called the... Oh, someone's talking to me. Packs 1, 2, 3, and 5 are called the Mega Drive and Genesis Collection packs. Pack 4 is called something else. I forget what it is. I think it's just Genesis something because it was all games I think that only came out in North America. And that's really weird because it doesn't show up the same way when you search for the packs on Steam. So for the longest time, I was only seeing packs 1, 2, 3, and 5. And I was like, well, what the hell is that about? That doesn't make any sense. So it was a little tricky to find that. And in addition to that, all of the Sonic and the 2 Toe Jam and Earl games in this collection are only piecemeal. You cannot get them in a pack. So you may notice I don't have those. I had 1 pack of games for this, and I had 1 pack of games for this thing, and then in the most recent Steam sale, everything was 75% off. So I went, sweet, I'm going to go buy the rest of the packs. Did not know that the Sonic games were not included in that. So yeah, they would be $5 a pop to buy right now, and there's 9 of those games. So I'm like, nope, not paying full price for those. So that's a little strange. So if you want everything in this collection, you've got to buy 4 packs and a bunch of games individually. You have to know to look for that. They do not make it clear. And yeah, at regular price, that is not cheap. These games are still cheaper than, you know, Wii Virtual Console games, but that's not saying much because those games are also insanely overpriced. $5 a pop, value proposition's going to vary. I think it's a little much, but some people might not think that. But you also have options for getting other games into this, which I will talk about shortly. It is one of the major interesting additions to this package is Steam Workshop mod support. No, seriously, yeah. So anyway, I'm just going to pick a couple of games here to show you what these are like. These are popular ones that most people would know. So you just pick a game. It does this nice little animation where it drops in the cartridge. I have it set to launch full screen, so it does that. And here you go. So as someone who played a lot of Golden Axe back in the day on the Genesis, I do remember this quite well, and in terms of how it was emulated. To me, I think it's pretty much bang on. The sound is good. The frame rate is accurate. I think it's... all the game logic... Whoops, I hit the wrong button. All the game logic to me seems pretty bang on. The controls are good and responsive, you know, as responsive as you would expect. You know, a lot of these games were both fairly difficult and also kind of mean and cheap, so being games of the 16-bit era, you know, that's kind of what you would expect. So, nothing really unusual there, but yeah, everything plays pretty well. Oh, you dicks. So again, I'm playing with the default bindings here, but yeah, so the jump button is on the right shoulder. I don't know, it's something you could probably get used to, and you know, being able to hover your thumb over the button does make it easy to sort of get a quick response to it. You're not having to move your fingers around in order to get to that button quickly. You can sort of jump on it real fast, right? So that is kind of handy. Some people may like that. You know, I don't know if the developers did testing, usability testing in that way, which made people sort of think that that's what they wanted. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. But, you know, it works. It's definitely functional. And these are games you easily... I did it again. These are games you could easily play with the keyboard, too, if you wanted. So, there's no worries with that. But I think the emulation quality is actually pretty solid all around. Of course, there are save states as well. So you want to save your progress in a particular game, just hit the button. It's literally instantaneous, no problem. You want to load that back up. Takes you right back there, so there's no load times, very quick, and it also gives you the options to remove save states that you don't like. So if you're trying to get good at a game, if you're maybe looking to speedrun something, if you're looking to have a little bit more control over your experience in that way, you absolutely can. So this is Comic Zone, which is a ridiculously hard but also really awesome game that I did a video on very early in my channel's history, actually. Back when my commentary was even worse. And, yeah, again, this was a game that used the Genesis hardware in some very interesting ways, and it works just fine. I mean, the fact that they probably used an open source emulator under the hood of this thing is fine by me, because frankly, in the case of most of these games, the emulation problems have been solved, right? Like, these old consoles can be emulated pretty much pixel perfect now. And to sort of rewrite the wheel, as it were, and do everything again from scratch doesn't make a lot of sense. I think it's better to just, yeah, use an open source emulator that's very well polished and refined, and you know, give credit where credit's due, or pay the licensing fee, however it is, and make sure that the emulation's done right, because your average mainstream consumer is probably not going to care that much if the emulation is pixel perfect, but you know what? Your mainstream consumer is not going to shell out potentially almost $100 for every game in this pack either. Only enthusiasts are going to do that. You know, you might get the occasional person who's willing to shell out $5 because they remember the first Sonic the Hedgehog, but if you want to sell this pack of these games in quantity, you're selling them to enthusiasts who are going to damn well hold you to account if you do a lousy job of emulating one of their favorite consoles. So I think it's cool that they did that, and yeah, the emulation's very solid. I quite like it. I think they did pretty well with that. So I'll show you another one here. Let's go. This is one I actually liked more from the arcade, Wonder Boy and Monster World. But let's check this guy out here. Everything's very zippy. You know, obviously we're loading very tiny ROMs here, so there's no load times at all. You know, this game loads almost instantly. You can't skip the logos at the beginning, but that's basically the longest you're ever going to have to wait for anything. So it's pretty, you know, it's pretty zippy. Oh boy, can I not skip this? Ugh. Gross. So, but it's solid, and I like that. I'll show, you know what I'll do here? I'll actually show you guys as well the, let's show you what the stretched full screen looks like. I don't like stretched full screen, but some people do. There it is. I mean, it's what it is, right? You're taking games that are made to be played in 4:3 and making them fit in 16:9. They're gonna look stretched. They're gonna look uneven. They're gonna look weird. If you're someone who doesn't care that much, or you're someone who has, for whom this doesn't bother you that much, because some people, even some enthusiasts, actually, this doesn't bother them. Like, the way they perceive this, or the way their eyes perceive this type of thing, they just don't see this as a major issue or something that affects gameplay. Hey, if you're that person, that's cool. And you have the option, so there is always that. So, you know, whatever. Not my cup of tea, but whatever you like. So yes, the games in this, by and large, are quite good, and there's an interesting selection in here. I mean, most of these are SEGA games. They're all first party. They're games that were either developed by SEGA. The majority were developed by SEGA, but some of them were just published by them. Like, for example, Dynamite Heady here. This is an absolutely crazy pants game that was developed by Treasure, which is one of my favorite small Japanese developers. But it was published by SEGA, and SEGA owns the rights to it, so it's in this pack. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, the more adventurous third-party stuff, you know, some of the things that came from Capcom and companies like that would have been cool to see that put in here, but this is a package put out by SEGA, so you're not going to see that. You're not going to see that type of thing. But it's nice that they gave it a little bit of a mix here. You know, what games you're into are going to be a matter of opinion, of course, but I think the default collection in this is a pretty solid representation of hits from those titles. You know, you got your Altered Beasts, you got your Alex Kidd, Comic Zone was kind of a niche title back in the day, but you got your E-SWAT, Golden Axe, I mean, friggin' the Golden Axe series, duh, right? Virtua Fighter 2, which on the Genesis was Vector Man games, which are crazy. All three Streets of Rage, you know, absolutely. Super Thunderblade was good. Rystar was good. Gunstar Heroes, speaking of Treasure, I mean, Gunstar Heroes, many people consider this one of the best Genesis games ever, and they're probably not too wrong about that. So that's in here, you know, that this has come out in other forms elsewhere before, but it's really nice to see it in here. It is a very solid pack, and of course, if you're into the Sonic series, you've got multiple Sonic games in here, and you've got the first two Toe Jam and Earl games, which I never understood the appeal of Toe Jam and Earl, but some people love those games. So hey, good for them. You know, if you're into that, those are in here too. Though, of course, as I said, you got to buy them separately. So here we go. This is Gunstar Heroes. You know, one of the best Genesis games possibly ever. I have this on the Xbox 360. Very, very happy to see this here. You know, this is a collection that does, to a degree, feel like it was made for people who, for real Genesis fans. Yeah, there's a lot of more niche titles and stuff in here that people are going to be like, well, why is this missing? And yeah, that's a fair point, but the real hardcore enthusiasts who are into the niche stuff are probably, they're not who this is selling to. And if you are a Genesis fan, you're probably still going to like most of what's in here. I certainly do. I think this is a very nice mix. But you have other options as well. Oh yeah, so remember how I talked about that this game has mod support? So yeah, that was added in with this new wrapper. So you can go into the Steam Workshop and you can select all kinds, you can subscribe like you do with Steam Workshop to a whole bunch of different mods for these different games. And some of these are just gameplay tweaks that make things easier. So you see here, Altered Beast Enhanced style hack arcade voice samples. So let's try this. So all of these have to work, right, for them to get posted on the workshop, and they are definitely here. So all you do,
rise from your grave.
So if you know Altered Beast well, you'll know that voice we just heard was actually not the Genesis voice, it was the arcade voice. So it's interesting little things like that. People have made little improvements. A lot of the games have what's called a chill mode mod, which basically gives you unlimited ammo, invincibility. It's just, hey, do you just want to see all the content in this game and don't really care if you blast through it? Well, hey, you can do that. It's basically a trainer mode that just gives you, it turns on all the cheats. Neat things like that. They're very, very simple mods that people have added in, and you can just subscribe to them for free in Steam Workshop. You can only use one at a time, which makes sense, right? Because these are making some rather major alterations to the code of the game. It's almost like having something like a Game Genie or something like that from back in the day, right? And
welcome to your doom.
The arcade one was still pretty good. Welcome to your doom. So, yeah, you can only run one at a time, but some of these mods have some neat stuff. But, potentially the biggest, craziest thing that the mods offer in this is, well, let's call them total conversions, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, take a look at this. Moonwalker, Ghostbusters, Strider, Contra Hardcore, Shadowrun. Yeah. People very, very quickly and very easily figured out how to just replace the game ROMs. So, you want to play Strider? Pixel Perfect Genesis Strider. Yep. Ain't that something? Yeah. So, when you go into Steam Workshop, most of these mods are seem to be for certain specific games, and I suspect that was to help keep the cost down for people. So a lot of these mods are for Streets of Rage 2. A lot of them are also for Sonic. There's a few for other games as well. When you go to a Steam Workshop page, it actually shows you what DLC or which games are required in order to access a particular mod. So if you go into a mod and it's for Streets of Rage 2, and it will say, you know, require Streets of Rage 2 DLC. So if you own the Streets of Rage 2 game, you just grab this mod and, well, you've got yourself a free copy of Strider. Let's make no two bones about it. This is very illegal. This is copyright infringement. You as a user, I don't really have anything to worry about from partaking in it, but it is, the people doing this do not have permission to do it. They are not supposed to be doing it. But here's the interesting thing about it. SEGA and D3T either really don't give a crap or are just doing a really bad job at policing this, because the majority of these total conversion replacement mods have been there for, some of them have been there for months, and they have not been taken down. Some of the ones that have been taken down have been very, very quickly replaced and stayed up for weeks or months at a time. Because they're ROM replacements as well, I have not even bothered to look into it, but you probably could just, find the files that they replace, copy them out, and there you go. So you could probably take the mods out of Steam Workshop and sort of have them permanently here. I do not endorse this. I am not saying you should be doing this, because technically it is piracy, but it's here, it's dead simple, and if you're debating back and forth on whether or not this is a good value for you, this might add some more. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to say nothing more than that. It makes it dead easy to find what games are in here and what games they require. You could probably, if you really wanted to, buy 4 games in the pack and have access to a whole bunch of other ones as a result of that. So you have to choose that for yourself. Whether or not you think that's a good value, whether you think that's ethical or not, is totally up to you. But it's here. And like I said, SEGA and D3T don't really seem to be trying that hard to stop it. So I don't know. But even if you take that out, I think that the mod thing adds a real good amount of cool value to this package, because the simple fact of the matter is, I have never seen, nor am I certain there ever has been, an emulation package of any kind that allows you to modify the games. because obviously that's not something you could easily do on consoles, which is where we usually see these packages. And in addition to that, a lot of these companies just don't want them modded. You know, like products like the Game Genie and things like that from back in the day, those products were usually unlicensed, and companies like Nintendo and Sega frequently fought very hard to try to run those companies out of business and stop them from existing, because they didn't want products that essentially just intercepted their game code and were basically modifying their games on the fly without permission. I do think it's really, really cool that Sega has sort of embraced that and basically said, no, we're going to allow people to do that, because why not? It's dead simple. And frankly, people with any knowledge of emulation are doing it themselves anyway, so we might as well just, embrace it and say, hey, if you want to do that, it's right here. And Steam has a really simple system for doing that, so let's just do it. And yeah, as people tend to do, most people have co-opted it for nefarious purposes, because they believe that the ability, the fact that the ability's there means they should have the right to make use of it. Don't necessarily know that I agree with that, but you have nonetheless, it adds value to the package for you, and you can totally make use of that if you wish. So hey, it's available. And if you don't want to take advantage of the piracy, well, say you want to play a really, really hard game in a chill mode where you have all the cheats on, or say you want to replace the voice samples in Altered Beast with the arcade ones, or say you want to replace character sprites in Streets of Rage. I think we actually have something like that here. I'm just going to show you Vector Man, because this was a kind of a technologically neat title because of the vector graphics it had here, and as you can see, it actually runs quite well. I'm just gonna, so as you can see here, it runs quite well. It's got the nice frame rate, the nice vector graphics. This was kind of a neat thing. This was kind of like Sega's technological answer to Star Fox on the Super Nintendo was Vector Man, and it's in here, and it runs very, very nicely, which is very, very cool to see. But there's also stuff like not even full conversions. Like, is it Streets of Rage 2? I can't remember if it's Streets of Rage 2. Yeah, Streets of KOF. What is this? Well, I'll show you. Yeah, they went and replaced some of the characters with characters from King of Fighters. Because why the hell not? Why the hell not? Is there much of a crossover between Sega fans and SNK fans? I don't know, but there was at least one. And it's there, why the heck not? And this guy put in some work. Like, the animations are nice, the effects are cool. Like, it doesn't just look like they did a sprite swap that doesn't play any differently. They actually did a surprisingly nice job with it. Stuff like that I think is really neat. Somebody added in, I believe it was to this, play as Tia from the Neo Geo game. Oh yeah, X-Men, Sparkster, Streets of Rage 2, except so there's a mode in here, or in one of these games, where somebody added, yeah, Streets of Rage Survival. It's basically a survival horde mode that somebody added in. Like, how cool is that? It's taking a neat concept of a really good brawler game and saying, hey, let's put an endless challenge mode in it, because why the hell not? I think that's cool. I don't know how you access it, though. I don't know if you just start a main game or if you have to do something else. You might have to do like a key press or something. I didn't actually read up on it. I just basically went through the Steam Workshop and pressed subscribe on a whole bunch of things. So you see some of them aren't perfect. You saw there was some weird graphical distortion there when those enemies came in. Oh yeah, here it is. No, this is definitely the survival mode. So you see it's just... What's up, fools? Aw, dang. But you see it's just spawning continuous, insane numbers of enemies on screen. The game did not play like this, and as you can see, it's kind of choking out the CPU of the Genesis here. But why not, right? Why the hell not? I don't know. I think that's kind of neat. I really do. So the addition of mods brings a huge amount of value to this. And while this is a fairly expensive package, especially if you buy it piecemeal, which you really shouldn't, it nonetheless gives you a whole bunch of extra cool stuff available to you that you can access. And that's really neat. Not every game has mods, and yes, a lot of the mods are piracy mods. But there's some other cool ones in here too, especially for the Sonic games, which I can't show you because I didn't buy them. But the Sonic games have a crazy number of mods in them available for them. And yeah, I think that stuff is just really, really neat. And something we've never seen before. And I really want to applaud Sega for doing that, even though they did, like I said, kind of they opened the door to some pretty nefarious stuff. They clearly don't care that much because they're not trying that hard to stamp it down. And I think it's neat that they just added that stuff into the mix and are making some cool stuff out of it. I really appreciate that, and I like to see, especially since this was a package that actually already existed on the on Steam before, that they actually gave it to another developer and said, hey, do something cool with this, you know, add mod support and a neat graphical front end and some other additional options. I applaud them for that. Like, I don't know how that came together. That feels like a deal that came together over some beers one night or something, but it's nice, and it's nice to see them giving some real respect to the Genesis like this. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing some more packs for this. I don't think we will, but seeing some more packs for this, maybe with some third-party games, would be really nice, or even another Sega package that focuses more on arcade stuff and gives sort of a similar arcade front end. That would be really nice, too. I'd like to see that, too. But I think it's a good package overall, and gives you a bare minimum of customization options, but enough to do the job. And it has a good selection of games and some cool things you can do with them if you want to. So, yeah, good value. You probably got to be a big Genesis fan to suck up the price. I do wish the price was lower in general, but it's on sale frequently too, and it's often on sale for a lot. So, you know, if it looks a little bit too much for you, then maybe wait for a sale and you can probably get yourself a good deal. So yeah, that is Sonic, Mega Drive, and Genesis Collection. I think I pronounced that right, I can never remember. Published by Sega, obviously, and developed by D3T. This is for PC only. It is available on Steam. I'm not sure if you can get it from any other retailers. If you can, I'll mention them in the description. But yeah, only Genesis fans need apply, as is the case with all these packages. But this is a cool one with some neat value propositions that did respect to the platform it was honoring, and we really can't ask for better than that. My name is Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. That does help me out a great deal. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy, everybody.